It's not till that one person at one point in time steps in and says something, and all of a sudden the light goes off, and then you're willing to take the action.
You're watching the Hersh Condos Digital Experience. And here's your host, Mitch Parker.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Hersh Condos Digital Experience. I am your host, Mitch Parker, and we have Hersh Litvak here with us.
Hi, everybody.
And Hersh, we had a pretty busy weekend going on the past couple days. I mean, the first was a little more of a personal note. Would you like to tell everybody the exciting news?
Well, that was exciting. So Kelly, who's part of our sales team, and my daughter, she had a little girl, and we had the baby naming. We named her, or she named her, Phoenix, which was named after my mom, which was a really nice honor to have bestowed, and it was great.
It's beautiful. And
Yeah.
so there was a ton of people there, and as usual there was a ridiculous amount of food.
Right.
And so in non-personal things on the real estate side, we actually had this incredibly successful launch of the deposit program at Raisa, Lakeshore and Port Credit, right? So I think there was 200 people at the sales center?
Yeah, right, thereabouts, for sure.
Absolutely insane. So I think the first time I looked at my clock on my computer, I think it was 11:45, we let people in. The next time I actually looked at it, it was 3:45 in the afternoon. So time just flew, and we reserved a ton of units, and it was an absolute success.
Well, it was a complete sellout, actually, so it was totally amazing. The builders were happy, and that's what we strive to accomplish all the time, so that was great.
Right. And so transitioning from that, what do you think are some of the similarities between creating content like this and successfully marketing and launching one of the pre-construction developments?
It's a matter of if you don't give people what they want, they're not going to buy condos,
Right.
Because there's lots of them for sale throughout the city. If you don't put in content that they want to hear, they're going to switch this off instantly and go listen to something else.
Because they can, right? Because there's so much selection out there.
Yeah, you've got to give people what they want. You have to be able to understand what the market's looking for in any case, no matter what you do or what
Right.
you're selling.
Right.
And give it to them.
And it might not even be real estate, right? It's like sort of any type of business.
Any
really,
type of business.
You know?
Yeah, I think you can apply the same principle.
Yeah.
And that's why you can compare the two, because this is self-help or listening, okay, or watching the video.
Yeah.
And the other one is buying a condo. They're two totally different things. But the reality is, if it's not what they want, they're not doing either.
Okay, so what would you say is the goal, or what we're trying to accomplish by putting out all this content?
Well, I think it's being where people are today. Same thing as giving them what they want, okay? It's being where they are. So, years ago, you could send out flyers,
Yeah.
and then it got really good because there was email, so you could send out an email. But today, people can tune into YouTube and watch this. They can download the podcasts on Spotify, etc. Like, there's so many places to get information. And so what we want to do is be ahead of the curve and put the information out in all the places that people can get it.
Right. And sort of give people a behind the scenes look as to what really goes on day to day at Hersh Condos.
Well, I think that's the fun part, because I think real estate is so interesting today. Just like the shows you see on TV, or like The Millionaire. Is it The Millionaire Agent out of New York? Or what's
$1 Million Listing.
$1 Million Listing.
Yeah.
And I've watched it a number of times, but I am sure there's lots of people that watch it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on TV if it was just real estate agents. Not enough of them worldwide.
For sure.
Maybe in Toronto, there's quite a few of them. But
Yeah.
but other than that, the reality is, people are so interested in real estate and what's going on. So this way, we let them in behind the scenes. You get to see the stuff on Instagram that we do, some of the funny things that happen, and some of the more serious things that we work on to make the sale successful.
Yeah. And at the same time, I think, it allows people to be kept in the loop about the developments that we're doing. So for the agents that are watching. And then the third thing is just to be able to provide a massive amount of value to people who are watching, right?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, it ties back to, even if you're not in the real estate industry or the sales industry for that fact, a lot of this advice is very transferable across any platform, right?
Totally. That's the way it is today. Yeah. I think that you can apply, most of the things in business you can apply to other businesses. I mean, there's certain principles that just are there no matter what you're doing.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff we're going to share with you, and I'm going to share with you, is things that for sure you can use no matter what business you're in.
this ties perfectly into the next question, which is, in my years of experience, I found that people usually are either like one of two ways. One, they either like openly share insight, information, they'll help you, or they work from this like scarcity mentality where it's like guarded, like you got to keep the secrets of the industry, right? And from working with you, I get that you're like about as open as any book can possibly be, right? And you're always like open to helping people and having the conversation. Have you always been like this? And is there like a thing that you can look back and say, here's where I learned it from? Like, where did you get that from?
Well, interesting enough, I absolutely have always been as open as I can. First of all, I love helping people. Right. I really do. So, to see somebody succeed is just, it's just a 10 for me in life. I think it's fabulous. And the more people I can help, the happier I actually am. But here's the reality. You can actually give somebody the keys to exactly how to do it.
Right.
And what I have learned over the years, Mitch, is most people just won't do it.
Right.
And I find it crazy. I don't understand why, when you're looking to improve your life and you just want to get somewhere, you just won't go do it. But there's something in people's minds, and I don't know what it is, that just clicks, and they love the idea when they hear it. Yep. They're excited, yet when they have to do it, there's something that stops them.
Just blocks them.
Well, in actual fact, I have a really good story, and maybe that's an episode in itself, but it's about your personalities. And, if you're wondering, does everybody have more than one personality? They for sure do.
For sure.
And it's something that I learned a long time ago about driving the school bus, but the reality is, in a very quick sense, who is driving that school bus for you today? Which personality is behind the wheel steering it around? And the interesting thing is, when you hear something and you're excited, that's a phenomenal personality of yours, and you should be going with it. If at one point you stop and you go, nah, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Right.
Kick that guy out of the driver's seat and get the other personality back driving again, because that's the secret of it. It's like, keep moving ahead and just make things happen.
Action, action, action.
Yeah, don't let stuff get in your head where you're going to stop yourself.
Right. And sometimes I think it is that fear, and it's not always a fear of failure. Like, sometimes I think it could be deep rooted into like a fear of success, and it gets into the psychological components like that as well. But I think you're right. I think it's just massive action. Run with it, do it. If it doesn't work, fine, move on to the next. But as long as you're sort of rolling the ball forward consistently, you'll end up ahead at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, that's what you got to do. I mean, something, this is our third episode. So it's number 3. We've done 1 and 2, and, we didn't have 1 million viewers in episode 1.
Right.
We didn't have 1 million viewers in episode 2. And the reality is, everybody, we're not going to have 1 million viewers in episode 3, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
We're not going to stop. You just keep moving ahead, and you're going to get there. If you stop, you're not for sure.
And so with this, I would almost say real estate has always been about location, 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 whereas now we're almost saying content, content, content.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you, Mitch.
Just keep putting it out there, and eventually at some point it'll click and it'll take off.
Do you know what? That's what it was like with me. So many people ask me, how'd you do this and how'd you do that? And believe me, I can't tell you how many seminars I've gone to in my lifetime. And the funny thing is, when you think about it, most of the people giving the seminars say the same thing. I'm probably saying the same thing that you've heard at seminars before.
Sure.
But it's not till that one person at one point in time steps in and says something, and all of a sudden the light goes off, and then you're willing to take the action. So sometimes you have to hear it a number of times to make it work.
Or hear it the right way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the right room with the right people, and etc.
Yeah.
So we're doing all this content. We're doing videos and podcasts, and we'll have audio, and it'll be Instagram, and sort of every channel imaginable will be there, right? But when you started, I imagine it was like audio cassettes and probably books that you were reading, right? Like, content has come a long way.
Miles. So here's what it was, and here's the big thing. I always believed that once you had your real estate license, or it doesn't matter what business, if you are listening to this podcast or watching it, and you have another business, education doesn't stop the day you opened the doors and started. That's the reality.
That's great advice, right?
Yeah.
That's like amazing advice. When you come out of real estate school, you may know the difference between a 2-story and a bungalow or a detached, semi-detached, but you probably don't know a lot about selling. There's not a lot of focus in the real estate courses.
You know nothing about selling for the most part. One of the things I found very interesting is that the real estate courses really teach you nothing about selling. And here's the thing. Go back to school, everybody. Like, school starts the day you had the license. That's how it really works. So for those of you, okay, that find it necessary to listen to music all day long as you're driving, how about switching it up? If you want to change your life, change some things. Listen to some podcasts. Listen to a whole bunch of things. Because the reality is, I learned so many of the lines that I use to this day, okay, from a guy named Jerry Bresser, all right, on real estate. And, you know, you think people are going to ask you all kinds of questions. They actually don't. They generally ask you the same kind of questions, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. Right. They're going to be about the same kind of questions. And as long as you know how to answer them, they're going to go, oh, wow, thanks.
Yeah. And that's real sales training, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that'll make a massive, massive difference in the success.
There's no big secret. It's just actually doing some stuff, okay, that you normally wouldn't do, which I talk about a lot of times. And, you know, the world's going to start to change for you.
I heard this stat recently, and it kind of, I mean, it makes sense, but it kind of blew my mind. In the Toronto area, there's 50-something thousand realtors in the Toronto Real Estate Board.
Yeah.
In the first 6 months of the year, 25,000 of them did not do a single deal. Out of that 25,000 that did a deal, another 12,500 did one.
Okay, I believe it.
So now you're 75% of the agent community has done one deal or less. Like, how are we supposed to make a living?
Well, they don't.
Right.
And the reality is, it's true in every single business that 20% of the sales force does 80% of the business.
Right. And it might even be 90-10. Like, who
probably
knows,
in real
right?
estate.
It might be, yeah.
I would agree, it probably is in real estate.
And so how do you think that this shift in content from cassette tapes and reading to podcast videos has changed the way Hersh Condos operates?
Well, here's a cool thing. I used to have to buy the cassette tapes because that's what you did. You paid money and bought them.
And good money, I'm sure.
And good money. The reality is today mostly everything is free. And funny enough, that's why, I'll put a little plug in here, but that's why we introduced the MillionaireCondoClub.com. And... people said, how much are you going to charge? Well, we're not going to charge to become a member of that. We're just not. I don't find it a benefit to charge to teach people. I find it more rewarding, Mitch. I just love it when people, when I can see people's lives change, when they can change their families' lives. It's not all about money all the time, seriously. Sometimes there's other things in business that just make life rewarding.
Right. And everybody has their goal and their purpose, and I think it's about watching them fulfill that, right? Some it's monetary, some it's freedom, some it's whatever it is. But you get to watch people achieve this, which is incredible.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And here's the thing. It's easy. Like, people come to me, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? How about just doing it? And I've said that before, but, there's some reality to that.
Yeah.
It's not tough. It's like, make a commitment, make a change, and I think you have to be strong-willed in your mind. Right? You have to say, this is what I want to do, and go make it happen.
And set yourself up for success. Like, I think you have to look and say, what are the things that I'm doing that are working and the things I'm doing that are not working? And then change the things that are not working to just implement more things that are, right?
One of the things I did, you're right. One of the things I did when I was about, I'm going to say 10 years into my career, what was happening was, I think what happens in every person's life for the most part is that they get to a certain point where they're making X dollars a year and they keep making the same money every year.
Right.
Same thing year after year after year. And I was getting tired of that. And what I said to myself is, I'm going to live the life I want to live. And so I sat down and said, what am I going to do different? And unbelievably, I just did it. Now, remember earlier in the podcast, I said, you hear probably the same thing from lots of people different seminars you go to, different podcasts you listen to or watch, and you just never really do them until one day it just clicks and you do them. So here's one that I heard over and over and over, never did it, and then one day I decided I'm going to do it. So get a piece of paper and put down your goals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, doesn't matter how many you have. Just write them out and get them on a sheet of paper. It is really, really important that they're there. And here's what I did. I took that sheet of paper, I laminated it, and I taped it inside the shower. So every morning I'd walk in the shower and I'd read those goals, and unbelievably, they would start to come true. There was goal 1, there was goal 2. You know, at the time I wanted to buy a car for my son who was turning 16 back then. And sure enough, I got him the car. And you know what? It was almost impossible for me to do that when I was writing it out, but it happened. Pretty much every single thing I had on that sheet of paper absolutely came to be. So if you're wondering, what's your next step? Get your goals on a piece of paper and put them in the shower and look at them every day.
As long as you shower every day.
As long as you shower every day, yeah.
And I cannot think of a better way to close this out. This has been episode 3 of the Hersh Condos Digital Experience. Hersh, thank you for sharing so much of your insight with everybody. It's wisdom that we can all be inspired by. If you guys like what you heard or watched, make sure you follow us, make sure you like us. We are available on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever your favorite social media channel is, you can find us. Until next time, have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Hersh Condos Digital Experience. Stay tuned for more exciting content, subscribe to our channel, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms.